That is, at the moment, a positive effect for the markets, because people on the markets had been concerned about deflation so long. They're now happy about the perspective that there's going to be some inflation to happen. More data coming out today. Positive data is also pushing the market here in Germany. It's coming from China. Industrial production, retail sales, also investment in plant and in equipment in China has developed in quite a strong way, and much better than most economists have forecast. Good news from China is pushing stock prices here in Europe today.
Yes, of course. And as soon as we all woke up today, UniCredit, the Italian bank, says it's launching about 13 billion euros rights issue to existing shareholders and a massive cleanup of its balance sheet. That looks like one good news from Mario Renzi's country, isn't it?
Absolutely. One bank that manages to, take care of its own business, and that probably doesn't need any help from the state here. UniCredit announced the 13 billion capital increase today. Of course, a capital increase normally wouldn't be very good news for the markets, but the shares in UniCredit are up more than 7% here in Frankfurt today. Much of the noise that the new boss of UniCredit, Jean-Pierre Mustier, made today is noise that's pleasing investors. First off, he said that he found several banks that guarantee that those new shares that UniCredit is about to sell on the markets will find investors. That's causing confidence. And also, Mustier announced 14,000 job cuts at UniCredit. That's twice the amount of job cuts planned until now. And of course, it's also something that promises higher profits for investors in the future. That's why they're buying the share today.
The market thrives on both noise and news. Sometimes very difficult sometimes to separate what's driving investor sentiment. But one big news from across the Atlantic is the ExxonMobil CEO that's going to be being nominated by President-elect Donald Trump as the Secretary of State, and Goldman Sachs Gary to be the head of the National Economic Council. What's the buzz around the market about the likely economic character of the Trump's administration when he takes office in January 2017?
Well, Bosun, Trump made a lot of promises. From January on, he will have to deliver. And if you talk to market people and the expectations, what they want to see delivered from January on, the focus is, of course, on the promises by Trump that he made in terms of growth, and not so much the ones that he made in terms of, closing borders or hindering international trade. What the market, majority of the people on the markets believe is that, the businessman Trump will decide what's going to happen, and most people on the markets believe that the fact that he's about to lower taxes in the United States will help the economy. Also, Trump is expected, take on more debt, make the budget deficit in the United States larger so that the government can spend on infrastructure. The business approach of his administration is also sort of reflected in the announcements he made today. His announcement for Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, that's a businessman working for ExxonMobil, a company that has strong ties with Russia. And, well, that might be an indicator that Trump, rather wants to do business with Russia instead of, fighting over the truth or other questions with Russian authorities and with Vladimir Putin.
Comrade, we have a lot to talk about in the next 30 days thereabout. It will be 2017. We'd like to see the transformation from businessman Trump to President Trump, Donald Trump of the United States. Comrade, I join you the rest of your day in Europe. Let's get together tomorrow. Let's check with the Asian markets. About 7 p.m. in Hong Kong, as we speak, the Asian markets ended today in cautious trade as investors await a widely expected U.S. Federal Reserve rate hike this week. Mainland China markets, which fell more than 2% on Monday, remained under pressure for most of today's trading session, were finished in positive territory. But the Shanghai Composite closed about 0.1%, and the Shenzhen Composite higher by 0.33%. The Japanese benchmark Nikkei 225 was up 0.5%. Australia's ASX 200, that's the benchmark there, down 0.3%, while the Hong Kong's Hang Seng was near flat, down 0.03%, and the South Korea Kospi 0.43% in the green. So we're still about early hours in the United States. The market futures looks to open positive today in a few hours. Meantime, the futures pointing to a higher open. Traders eyeing the Fed interest rate move. The long-awaited Federal Reserve open market committee begins today for 2 days, and if, as widely expected, an interest rate hike is announced, it will represent the first rate rise of 2016. On the economic data front, Tuesday, we'll see the National Federation of Independent Business data for November. That's coming through at 6 a.m. Eastern, with import prices for November scheduled to be released at about 8:30 in the morning in the United States. On the earnings, we expect ABM Industries, HEICO, and Knudsen to report after the opening bell. Meantime, the International Energy Agency has a lot to say about the world of energy, starting with coal, saying the global demand for this product is set to plateau over the next few years due to lower consumption in China and increased consumption in India and Southeast Asia. Globally, the IEA expects coal demand to total 5.63 billion tons by the year 2021. That compares to 5,400 billion tons last year, when coal demand dropped for the first time this century. That equals 0.6% average annual growth from 2015 to 2021, below the 2.5% average yearly growth over the past decade.
The picture outlined in this report is that we will see the somewhat kind of a plateau of coal demand toward the year 2021. And of course, it depends upon the regions. So in China, which is the largest the demand center of the world, we'll see somewhat kind of the very plateauing demand growth toward the year 2021. And other regions, other parts of Asia, like India and ASEAN, we'll see somewhat solid the strong growth. Yeah, of course, we will see a lot slower the coal demand compared with the last decade. But at the same time, the coal is here to stay. So I think it's a bit too early to say that the days of the coal are numbered.
Business Incorporated returns in a minute.